It's Answer the Podcast. I'm Tim, and joining me is Steven. Oh my gosh, Steven is back in the studio. I feel like it's been a long time, buddy.
Yeah, it's been a crazy couple weeks of work, and I really haven't had the energy or the time to try and wake up early and get a podcast done. But it's good to be back in the studio with the homie talking about some football action.
Heck yeah, man. And what a wonderful week of football it was, with the conference championships on college and then NFL on the NFL side of things. And I got to tell you, some of these conference championships games really shocked me.
Yeah, there was quite a few when I was getting the notifications at work that I just wasn't expecting.
Well, we're going to start with the Mountain West Championship, okay, between Boise State and UNLV. Now, I want to point out I had this previewed, and I had it previewed, and I was going to do it last week, but I got sick, guys. That's why I didn't do one Thursday or Friday. I want to say I had Boise State 27, UNLV 24. So I'm really kind of shocked that Boise State didn't put up as many points this go round as they did the last go round against UNLV, but they only held UNLV to only 7. So I got to say, Boise State and Ashton Genty, we should just name this show the Ashton Genty Show because he had another spectacular game, buddy.
Yeah, the dude's honestly the total package, and he's doing nothing but helping his draft stock at this point. And he's got a good or a good chance at beating the rushing yards record if things can play out right for Boise State.
He does. I think I saw it's 132 yards is what he needs. He obviously has a first round bye. He's going to face either Penn State or SMU. Now, I will say both of those defenses rank in the top 10 versus the run, but so was Oregon's run defense when he put up almost 200. So,
yeah. And I mean, he's one of those runners that he runs so violently that as the game goes on, defenses tend to break down. And I hope he gets it. I don't know how far Boise State can actually go in the playoffs, especially when you're facing a team like Penn State. Maybe they have a little bit better chance against SMU. But I don't know. It's going to be exciting to watch. I hope he gets it. Dude's a beast. He's going to be a first round pick in the NFL if he chooses to go that route.
Okay, so I have something I want to talk about on this game. I have it written down. I have it written down here. So this one didn't go all the way like I thought it would. Like I said, I thought Boise State was going to be able to put up like 27 points on UNLV. In the first game, it was 29-24.
Yep.
So I thought it was going to be kind of closer to that. But Boise State did what they have done all year. That's lean heavy on Ashton Genty. He had 32 carries, 209 yards, and a touchdown. Genty ripped off a 75-yard touchdown. That was his fifth touchdown of 70-plus yards this season, tying LaDainian Tomlinson FBS season record for most 70-yard touchdown runs in a season.
That's
wow.
Some good company to be in right there.
That is a great company to be in, buddy. That is some great company. LaDainian Tomlinson is my favorite running back. So he is 132 yards away from Barry Sanders' single season rushing record. And Barry Sanders is like, hey, records are meant to be broken. Records are meant to be broken. So
and I know a lot of people will say, well, Barry Sanders did it in 12 and Genty's had 14 plus he's got the playoffs, but that's the world we're living in now. Just like when Mahomes broke Manning's record, like, oh, he had one extra game to do it. It's like, yeah, but you can't discredit what he's done just because the rules have changed a little bit. It's still an awesome feat. And That's just how I feel about that.
So I'm only going to list the top 4 seeds in the recap, and then we're going to go over the top 12 teams and the matchups for the playoffs at the end here. Boise State won 21-7. By running all over them. Boise State has clinched a playoff spot and locked up one of the first round buys. Boise State is the number 3 seed, guys. They are the number 3 seed in the playoffs with the first round bye. So, I'm really happy. I'm really happy to see Boise State. I'm really happy to see somebody new here. And with this new 12-team format, I think it's going to be really well.
Yeah. It should be a lot better for teams that don't necessarily always get in. Boise State's going to be the first of hopefully many college football brackets where the underdog kind of gets in, and let's see what they can actually do instead of just casting them off to the side.
All right, so Boise State's in the number 3 spot. Next up, we have the Big 12 Championship. That was on Saturday, noon Eastern. In my preview, I had both teams kind of being similar. They're real similar in the stat category, and real similar in the the way that they both run the ball. And I just I gotta say, I thought this game was going to be a lot different than it was. I had Arizona State 38, Iowa State 31. And that didn't happen in this game. The final score was, I don't know, it was like 45-19 or something. Yeah, it was like 45-19.
Yeah, this game actually surprised me. I thought it'd be a lot closer than it turned out to be. I thought at least, Iowa State would at least give Arizona State a run for their money, and it just didn't happen. It kind of fell flat. And I don't know where it all went wrong. But this is one of those games I was kind of disappointed in because I was hoping it was going to be a lot closer and it was going to be kind of one of those nail biter situations.
Yeah, Arizona State just kind of came in. I thought this one would have been a lot closer than it was. Both teams had similar season stats. Both teams matched up well. Arizona State pushed Iowa State around. The Sun Devils leaned on superstar Cam Skattebo, who had 16 carries, 170 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Also 2 catches, 38 yards, and a receiving touchdown. I think one of the more important plays didn't involve a stat, though. After a 4th down conversion early in the game, it's like a 1st and goal, and the quarterback's running to the left, and Cam Skattebo hits that key block, the lead block, to let Sam Levitt run into the end zone. So that in my opinion, that was where the game really changed, was that 4th down and then that touchdown on the next play. So, Cam Skattebo doesn't get enough credit here because Ashton Jeanty, he's been putting up record numbers. Cam Skattebo, scrimmage yards, he has over 2,000 scrimmage yards on the season. So, and he plays in a lot tougher conference.
Yep.
A lot tougher conference. But so I don't know. He's definitely had a great season. He's kind of improving his draft stock. So this is the first outright conference title for Arizona State since winning the Pac-10 in 1996.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
Wow. So they were 3-9 last season.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean the turnaround that they've had is amazing. There's been a couple schools this year that the turnaround from last year to this year has just been absolutely mind blowing. And it's good to see. It's good to see for college football. I think it gives it a lot more diversity. Um, and yeah, I don't feel like Cam does get enough credit. You know, Ashton Genty is a true running back. He doesn't have many catches out of the backfield. He doesn't have many receiving yards. Cam, on the other hand, is that all around back you kind of want for, you know, a true third down back in the NFL, I guess.
yeah.
And I know a lot of teams don't employ a true third down back. They usually go running back by committee, but it'd be real interesting to see at the end of the season how comparable they are in stats because I mean they're both just excellent football players.
So Indiana or Arizona State joins Indiana as only 8-win improvement from last season. So both teams, only had like the 3 wins, and now Arizona State is now the 4 seed and has a first round bye.
Yeah, and I mean that was the right call. Arizona State has had a great season, and I realize there's a lot of people that say strength of schedule and this and that. And I get it to an extent, but you can't discredit Arizona State for what they've done this year. And they played like one of the best teams in college football for most of the season.
That is true. That is true. So we got Boise State at the 3 spot. We got Arizona State at the 4 seed. There's only 2 spots left in the first round bye, and we haven't even hit some of these power teams yet, guys. So next up is the SEC, guys. This game, this game was great. It kind of, but honestly, for me, the big takeaway here is the lack of production by Texas. Because if Texas would have really just capitalized on some of this, they would have blew Georgia out of the water in this game.
Yeah, this was a game. I actually watched part of it while I was at work. And I looked down at the score at one point, and I think it was like 13-6, and it was like the second quarter. And I'm just like, what is going on? And Texas had the ball, and I can't remember how that drive ended, and I ended up turning the game off after that because we just got busy with prep. But this is a game that Texas should have easily won, and they just couldn't capitalize on anything.
So this was a rematch from week 7, guys. Okay, SEC championship. It was a rematch from week 7. And this was a wild game. Texas made a lot of mistakes and even missed back-to-back field goals. Texas beat themselves in this one. Georgia gets the win, but Texas lost a battle with themselves here, guys. The turnovers, the missed field goals, penalties. I think at one point I saw Texas had 8 penalties for 80 yards, and when that happens, you're just asking to be in a rut or from behind the sticks. And when you get behind the sticks against a team like Georgia, you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to be able to move the ball as effective.
Yep.
And so, Quinn Ewers throws 2 interceptions. Texas also lost a fumble. Once again, the Longhorns can't get the run game going. I was actually going to talk about this in my preview where, Texas run game really struggled. They had 27 carries for 29 yards in the first meeting and no touchdowns. Quinn Ewers had 6 carries for -34. Now, I want to fast forward back to this game, and they can't get the run game going again. 22 carries for 58 yards. Quinn Ewers had 6 for -27, though I think most of that came from sacks. College and the sacks go against the rushing yards. NFL sacks go against your passing yards. So I don't agree with it going against the rushing because it's not a rush. It's, he was trying to pass. But So he had 6 for a negative 27. And, um, speaking of sacks, Georgia sacked Quinn Ewers 6 times. So, yeah, 6 for a negative 27. There it is. Dalen Everett picked off Ewers twice. No more woes from oh now more woes from Texas. Their kicker Bert Auburn missed those back-to-back field goals. Carson Beck, he actually got hurt at halftime, and many of us thought that this was going to be it for Georgia. Carson Beck got hurt and right at the end of the first half, and that wasn't the case, bud.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen a lot come out from this game. Kirby Smart actually came out and said that Beck was going to have an MRI to see the extent of the damage. He just said it was an upper extremity injury. That's a mouthful. So we'll have to kind of wait and see what happens there. Maybe they're without Carson Beck for some of the playoffs or all the playoffs, and I mean that really kind of hurts Georgia.
That does. Now, I will say their backup did come in, and he did a really good job. He did what was needed. He came in, provided that spark, and honestly, Georgia's offense clicked a lot better in the second half with him than they did in the first half with Carson Beck. Now, Carson Beck would return to the game with his hurt arm.
Couldn't throw.
He did. It was in the overtime. And he handed the ball off to Trevor Etienne, the brother of Travis Etienne, for the game-winning touchdown. Georgia is now the number 2 seed in the playoffs.
Yeah, and this one where I wish we had more information about Beck's injury, because I think we would have ran into a situation like last year with FSU where they probably wouldn't have got ranked as high if they don't have Carson Beck for the playoffs.
Oh, yeah. But when Jordan Travis got hurt and
Florida the very last game of the season. And they just kept FSU out completely out of the playoffs, which I get because you want to obviously put somewhat of the best teams against the best teams. But
now, I do want to point out that in my preview that I would have done, I had Texas winning 24-16. They lost 22-19. So I was yet wrong again.
Did Arch Manning come in for Texas this game at all? I thought
very little.
He ended up throwing an interception or two, didn't he?
No, he didn't throw any. He ran the ball one time for 5 yards. Now, I will say one thing I did like was they lined up on a 4th and short, with Arch Manning. And so Georgia was like, oh, here we go, and crowded that middle to try to stop Manning from sneaking. And it was it went through Manning's legs right to the running back. So it was a direct snap to the running back.
That was awesome.
That was a pretty wild play. So Georgia is now the 2 seed. Wow. All right. Now we've already covered 3 out of the 5 championship games. The ACC is next, guys. Clemson. Man, Clemson came ready to play. They jumped out to a 14-0 lead right out of the get-go. Thanks to a sack fumble. Jennings by SMU, he fumbled the ball while getting sacked, and Clemson went up to 14-0. It was 21-7 after the first. Wow. So it was 21-7 after the first, and SMU was in trouble, guys. They were in trouble. By the time the first half ended, Clemson had a 24-7 lead. Things are looking bad for the Mustangs right now. If SMU gets blown out, they could miss the playoffs. By the time the fourth quarter started, SMU was down 31-14. Holy crap. So Clemson just right out of the gate comes out, pushes SMU around.
Yeah. This was a game, I checked the score, I think, at halftime, and I'm like, yep, that sucks for SMU. They're gonna get completely bounced from the playoffs if they get blown out big, and I was pleasantly surprised when I seen the final score.
So SMU, Clemson is going to win. The committee will punish SMU by leaving them out of the playoffs. Clemson was dominating through the game, even though the run game was not effective. 32 carries for 64 yards, the longest being 14 yards by QB Cade Klubnik. SMU quarterback did what he could despite an interception and a fumble. He had 304 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 10 carries for 35 yards. Here we go, guys. Here we go. SMU would score 17 straight points to tie the game. Many people, myself included, are wondering why SMU tied the game instead of going for 2 and the win. They 16 seconds left. 16 seconds left, in the game. Your offense has the momentum right now. You've scored 17 straight points. They elect to kick the game time extra point and play for overtime. But here's the problem. With 16 seconds, SMU special teams dropped the ball and let Clemson get a 41-yard return to the Clemson 45. Cade Klubnik knows he has one play to get in field goal range. He completes the pass to Antonio Williams, gain of 17 on the play. Clemson quickly calls timeout. Nolan Hauser kicks 56-yard field goal. It's good. Clemson wins. They are headed to the playoffs. But we're not going to say where they're seated because they're not the number 1 seed, obviously.
Yeah, this was a game SMU I felt like could have definitely won, and they probably should have went for 2. I get the coach's decision not to. At that point, he's probably thinking, I'm just playing to go into overtime. I'd rather go into overtime and take my chances than go for 2 and completely miss it. So it's hard to say as somebody that just watches football. We could say, oh, we would have done this or done that, but we're also not coaches,
I sat here and I've ran this scenario through. Well, let's say for example, they did kick they did go for 2. Okay. What happens? I mean, the special teams on the very next play is what led to the game-winning field goal. So even if they went for the 2 and the lead, Clemson still could have won the game with that game-winning field goal if the special teams had the same collapse. So,
yeah, I mean, but in hindsight, in that moment, like not knowing what was going to happen that next play,
right.
It's really hard to say. Me personally, I would have went for the 2.
Oh yeah,
Hands I'm a little
down.
bit of a gambler, though. You know what I mean? I'm a little bit of a gambler.
Well, I feel with like this much on the line, not knowing your fate and how the committee's going to view if you lose this game, yeah, I'm 100% going for this.
Yeah. But, I mean, even Clemson's head coach commended them after the game on them being tough, fighting, coming back, trying to.
I got to say, I have a lot of respect for Dabo Swinney. He said SMU came back. They deserve to be in the playoffs. I guess we'll have to find out in just a moment how that played out.
Yep.
Well, we got one championship game left, and then we're going to talk about the rankings and the first round matchups, and then we're going to switch it up and go to the NFL side of things. The Big Ten Championship. Here we go. The game of the night. Oregon taking on Penn State. This is the game that many people were excited for, myself included. This is right at the same time as that Clemson SMU game, and I had it double boxed in, but I had it on the Oregon Penn State because the SMU game was a blowout early, so I didn't know what to think about that. I will tell you, undefeated Oregon versus one-loss Penn State. Their only loss going into this game was Ohio State. I actually had a very detailed preview that I wanted to share. The winner of this game gets the number 1 seed in the playoffs. Both teams headed into this game ranked top 10 in scoring defense, both allowing less than 17 points a game. The offenses for both teams entered scoring 33 plus points a game. Which side would win, the defense or the offense? The first quarter ended with a 14-10 Oregon lead. By halftime, both offenses were clicking 31-24 Oregon. Only 7 points by Oregon in the third. Now it's 38-24 Oregon going into the fourth quarter. Early in the fourth, Penn State scores a touchdown. And here's kind of the head scratcher for me. They attempted a 2-point conversion. They were down 14. They scored a touchdown, went for 2. So I don't know. Maybe they were trying to set themselves up for a game-winning touchdown at the very end. But why not kick that extra point and try to for 2 on your next touchdown?
Yeah.
So they tried the 2-point conversion and it failed. And now the score is 38-30 Oregon. The next Oregon possession was a 12-play, 75-yard that lasted 6 minutes and 49 seconds, and it was capped off by a 3-yard touchdown run by running back Jordan James. Overall, Drew Allar had a decent game, 20 of 39, 226 yards passing and 2 touchdowns, along with 5 carries, 54 yards, and a touchdown. But he did have some mistakes with 2 interceptions, including the one that sealed the game with under 2 minutes. So he gets picked off under 2 minutes. Oregon's offense is able to run the clock out. Oregon wins 45-37.
Yeah, this was a game that I questioned the 2-point try. I kind of think I know why he did it. I think he was trying to get it to where, if they convert both those, if he converts that first one, goes for it on their next touchdown drive, another 2-point, that puts them up by 4 points. Ultimately, so they'd have to do, if Oregon for some reason had the very last drive and Penn State was up 4, they'd have no choice but to go for the touchdown. Oregon would. And I think that's what the game plan was. I think it was a poor time to execute that game plan.
Yeah. So now Oregon wins. They are the number 1 seed. So Oregon is 1. Georgia is 2. Boise State 3. And Arizona State 4. Okay, so that is the top 4 and the first round buys. And Oregon deserves the number 1 seed. They're the only undefeated team left in college football. And they have a chance to do something really great here. They have a chance to become the first team in the modern era to go 16-0 if they win the national championship. So, here we go. Here's the rankings. Oregon is 1, Georgia 2, Boise State is 3, Arizona State 4. And I have no problem with this. Boise State deserves to be the 3 seed. They have less losses than, the Big 12 champ, Arizona State. But they didn't quite play the same amount of people that Georgia faced. I don't have a problem with them being the 3 seed instead of the 2 seed. Texas is 5, Penn State is 6, Notre Dame is 7, Ohio State 8, Tennessee is 9, Indiana is 10, SMU is 11. SMU is 11, Clemson is 12. Bama does not make the playoffs.
And they shouldn't have, period, point blank. They had 3 losses. And the loss to the Oklahoma team was probably what really did them in. There was no reason they had any business losing to Oklahoma. And it was the right call. I know a lot of people are going to say no, like SMU shouldn't be in or Arizona State shouldn't be in. Alabama should. No. They shouldn't.
Okay, here's my thing, okay? The only argument that Alabama could have been in is SMU doesn't have any ranked wins versus any wins versus ranked in the college football rankings. However, I am glad that SMU is in. SMU should not be punished for making a conference championship that Bama could not make.
Yep.
So, as we already stated, Oregon, Georgia, Boise State, and Arizona State have the first round buys. It will be Tennessee, number 9, Tennessee taking on number 8, Ohio State at Ohio State. Winner faces Oregon in the Rose Bowl. Clemson at number 5, Texas. Winner faces Arizona State. Indiana at Notre Dame. Winner faces Georgia. SMU at Penn State. Winner faces Boise State. Which one are you most excited for, bud?
I really like the Penn State SMU game.
Okay.
Tennessee. You said Tennessee at Clemson.
Tennessee at Ohio State.
Tennessee at Ohio State should be a pretty good game. Really, this first round is there's going to be some good games.
Mm-hmm.
The one that probably will just be, that leans more towards the blowout territory is the SMU versus Penn State. Penn State's defense is really good, but I'm hoping SMU can turn it on and move on to that next round because I'd really love to see SMU versus Boise State.
Well, I think, SMU is actually probably going to put up a little bit more points than a lot of people are expecting against Penn State. SMU has a very high powered offense, similar to Oregon, not as great, but they do have a high powered offense. And I mean, look what it did against Penn State. So I think SMU has a chance to really keep up with Penn State here. It's going to be a matter of SMU's defense. Can SMU's defense get those stops? I'm kind of with you, though. I think the Tennessee Ohio State has a lot, to offer. Both teams have pretty good defenses. Both teams have a really good offense, when things are clicking. I'm also intrigued by the Indiana Notre Dame game.
Yeah.
Indiana, with the exception of losing to Ohio State, has blown everybody out of the water. Notre Dame's been winning, but what is it going to be like facing, Indiana, who is now probably like, hey, we suffered that loss to Ohio State. Now we need to show people that we still mean business. The Texas Clemson game does kind of intrigue me just a little.
Yeah.
But realistically, Texas should walk all over Clemson. But I mean,
realistically, but what version of Texas are we going to get?
That is true. That is true.
Now with us knowing the final bracket here, I want to revisit a question I asked 3 or 4, or probably 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Ideally, who from this bracket, left side, right side, would you ideally like to see in the Natty Champion?
Okay, so if I've done the breakdown correctly, because I wasn't able to on my paper here to do left side, right side, so I had to do top, bottom, top being the left and bottom being the right.
So think of it like this: all the odd numbers are the right, all the even numbers are the left,
or vice versa.
Or vice versa, yeah.
Okay, so I really okay, because think about this. Okay, we're gonna have Tennessee versus or Ohio State versus Oregon. So we're either gonna get Tennessee versus Oregon, or we're gonna get Ohio State in a rematch versus Oregon. And then we're gonna have either Clemson, Texas, or Arizona State going against the winner of the Oregon game in the semifinals. Looking at the bracket, I think Oregon has an easier opportunity, especially if Tennessee can beat Ohio State. I think Oregon would match up with Tennessee a lot better. Ohio State has, advantage already playing them this season. I would love to see Oregon and Boise State in the Natty. I don't think Boise State has enough power though. So if Boise State doesn't make it from the other side, honestly, I'd like to see Notre Dame. I think that would be Oregon Notre Dame would be a really good game.
I've thought about this a lot, and I'd really like that rematch of Oregon and Boise State. Like you said, does Boise State have enough firepower? They kept up with Oregon earlier in the season, and I said this before the show, Boise State's one of those teams. They remind me a lot of the Chiefs. They like to play down to their competition, um, hang around, let those teams hang around that necessarily they don't have no business hanging around with, and then the teams that you're like, oh, they're going to get blown out. They keep up with them. Um, I think realistically, right now, just looking at the brackets and everything we know from the season, Penn State has the easiest path um, to the Natty Championship with SMU and then Boise State.
Well,
Um,
they would still have to face Georgia or Notre Dame.
yeah, but realistically, you know, until that, next round, like they, I don't think it's going to be Penn State. I think it's going to be Oregon's definitely the left side representative. There's nobody beating them on that left side. Um, the right
No.
side, it's got to be Boise State or Notre Dame. I mean, either matchup would intrigue me. I don't think there's anybody else from that right side that I really would care to see face Oregon.
Because honestly, Georgia, like people can sit here and talk, but I think Oregon would. I think Oregon would have their way with
Oh, Oregon would
Georgia
dog walk Georgia.
because okay, so Oregon's offense is really high powered, and really so is Texas. Like when they're clicking, like they have the speedy receiver, they have the power back, they have two great quarterbacks. So when that offense is clicking, Texas, I mean, honestly, and we talked about this just a little bit ago. Texas really should have dominated this game against Georgia this past weekend. And I just don't think that, like if Carson Beck doesn't play, maybe Georgia, doesn't survive Notre Dame or even Indiana for that matter.
Yeah, there is a lot of questions that need to be answered this week, especially when it comes to some of these teams and some of the injuries, Carson Beck being the most notable. Um, if Carson Beck is not good to go, because I mean their backup went down at the end of the game and it looked bad.
It was a hit. Now he only went down because like he left the game because his helmet came off. That's the whole reason that he left the game.
That kept him out of the game all the rest of the game.
It was only one play.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, his helmet came off in overtime. He was scrambling, and by rule, when your helmet comes off during a tackle, you have to sit out one play. So
see, I thought it happened like at the beginning of overtime.
no.
Is how all the like.
Well, I mean, it was, but it was.
Yeah,
He scrambled and got a first and goal. His helmet came off, and so Texas already kicked the field goal. So now Georgia, if they get a touchdown, they win. And he scrambled, got his helmet taken off, and then Carson Beck came in, handed it to Trevor Etienne. Georgia wins.
Okay, that makes more sense now. Yeah, just all the highlights that I was seeing, like it made it seem like it happened a lot sooner than it really did. Like, but if Carson Beck's not good to go, I realize he came in relief of Carson Beck and played well. That generally doesn't happen the next game. Teams will go back and try and find film of you from high school and get to know you and have a game plan for you. Teams don't really game plan for backup QBs.
Right.
When the starter's in, now the sole focus, if Carson Beck can't go, is going to be on you. And teams are going to find your weakness.
Oh, yeah.
Especially, being in the spotlight of the playoffs. That's your first actual start. I would not like that. But, it's going to be real interesting to see how this all shakes out.
Indeed it will, bud. Indeed it will. I think that is all we need to talk about on the college side for right now. Yep. We have a lot going on. Of course, this week is the big Army-Navy game. The bowl season kicks off this weekend. And then the first round playoffs kick off next weekend. So we get the big Army-Navy classic game this weekend. And I'll probably do a preview on that later this week. I really want to break that game down.
Hold on. The first round of the playoffs start this weekend.
Nope. They start next weekend. The 20th and
So
21st.
so really, the first round bye teams get 2 weeks of 3 weeks of rest almost,
2 weeks of rest, yeah.
and then the even the first slate of games they get 1 week of rest.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, yeah.
For some reason, I thought the first round was this weekend.
Now that could actually hurt some teams, that could
But
hurt
that could
some
also
teams.
help out some teams like Boise State,
Who,
where they have
yeah, Ashton Genty, who has carried like over 300 times this season.
yeah. Well, and then game planning for that Penn State or SMU defense.
Right.
That's a scary proposition.
Yep. So it's going to be exciting. We got Army Navy this weekend, guys, but
That's
right
the game
now
they should win.
we're still talking about this week, and we had a lot of stuff happen in the NFL. Normally we do 2 1-hour segments. Today we're kind of doing a condensed version, and we're just doing one show combined. And week 14 in the NFL, man. So I'm currently 6-5 on my weekly picks this week.
Ouch.
The listener is 4-7, so I'm at
Ouch.
least beating the listener. I picked the Packers on Thanksgiving, or not on Thanksgiving, on Thursday, the day after, or the week after Thanksgiving. And they almost pulled it off. Some people could say, some pass interferences cost the game. I will say I'm not a big fan of the pass interference when the ball is underthrown, and that's in any game.
Yeah.
I don't think that offenses should be awarded and rewarded a free play just because the quarterback underthrows the ball.
Well, and here's the thing, like it's supposed to be the ball has to be catchable.
Right.
So if a quarterback tosses over somebody's head, it's not pass interference. So why is it that if he underthrows by 10 feet and the receiver can't get back to it, first off, I don't know many receivers that are coming back to a ball underthrown by 10 feet, 10 yards. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
And it will get called every time. And kudos to quarterbacks and receivers for taking advantage of that. But I think the rule needs tweaked to where the ball has to be catchable no matter what.
I saw somebody tweet, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but he used to be a quarterback, and he had this to say, if the ball is underthrown and the receiver is trying to come back, make it an illegal contact and make it a 5-yard penalty. Replay the down. Don't give them spot foul for an underthrown ball.
Yeah.
So
I'm not even a fan of the illegal contact, though, because illegal contact is still automatic first down.
No. He said illegal contact and replay the down. So it would still make it a 5-yard penalty and not an automatic.
So it'd basically be like a false starter and offsides where you just.
Right.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah, that I'm fine with. But the original illegal contact is 5 yards and automatic first down.
Yeah, no. He said replay the down and it be a 5-yard penalty. So the Lions won 34-31. It was a great game. And, in fantasy, sorry guys, if you listen to me, I said bench Jared Goff. He didn't have a great game against the Packers the last time. And he had himself a pretty good game. So for that, I am sorry. But, it was a good game. Controversial calls always seem to find their way in an NFL game, and it happened here. Giants and the Saints. Oh, my gosh. I've actually got to read something to you because I don't know if you've heard this, but I actually saw a story yesterday that intrigued me about this game. And when I saw it, I was like, no way did somebody do this. So apparently, a Giants player reportedly hired OnlyFans model Ava Luis to flash the Saints during today's game.
What?
Yeah. And OnlyFans.com, there's a conversation, and I don't know the player, but I mean, based off of initials, we might be able. So the player, it says TD. Hey, sexy, got those 2 free tickets to the game. If you do me a solid and flash the Saints to distract them. OMG, what? For real? How? I play for the Giants. I got you. Haha, what number? So I make sure you get a good look. The looky eyeball emoji, devil emoji. You'll be able to figure that out easily at the game. Can't have you put me on blast and get me fined. Or knowing you get me fired. Email me the tickets and then the email. I'll see what I can do.
Tommy DeVito?
That's the only TD I can think of on the Giants,
Bro,
bro.
and he's just douchey enough to do it.
He is. He is. He has that. He has that kind of mentality and that kind of character about him. That he just seems like that kind of person that would do that.
Bro,
Um,
if the NFL finds out who did it and it did it actually happen is the thing.
I mean, I don't know, bro. I can't.
I don't want to go looking personally, but like surely we would have heard about it, like a fan being escorted out.
Giants player hires OnlyFans girl to distract Saints. It was posted by Football Forever on Instagram.
So if it really happened, one that's a and pardon my French here, that's a shitty thing to do.
Yeah.
That is the lowest of low. Because I mean, you're not just getting Saints players in trouble at this point with their wives, but you're getting fans with their wives in trouble for looking at a pair
Oh,
of boobies.
so apparently though it didn't work because the Giants won or the Saints won 14-11.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a. If the NFL finds out and it was him, he's getting suspended and fined for sure,
Oh
as he
yeah.
should.
Oh
That
yeah. Oh yeah.
you just don't do nothing like that. I mean,
So,
I'm so disappointed.
well, I mean,
I mean,
think
it is Tommy DeVito, but
think how they're all feeling, you know?
it's kind of like who was it? A couple Zach Wilson with
Oh yeah.
everybody's moms and stuff. Like, I'm just like, oh, come on, do better.
Right, for sure. So the Saints win that one 14-11. The distraction obviously didn't help. And the Giants are continuing their push for the number 1 overall pick.
Kudos to the Giants, I guess.
I actually had the Saints in this one. I can't remember my score. If you go back and listen to last Wednesday's episode, I give my score predictions, but I can't remember them off the top of my head. Steelers beat the Browns 27-14.
Yeah, really no
27.
surprise there.
I picked the Steelers. The listener actually took the Browns in this one.
Well, I mean, the Browns have played spoiler the past,
I
4
actually
weeks or
think that
so.
was the listener's hot take of the week, if I remember correctly. So, Falcons destroyed by the Vikings.
Yeah, that's an understatement. That was a not so sweet return for Kirk Cousins.
That brings me to this question, bud. Should Atlanta bench Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't know what it is, because the first couple weeks of the season, Kirk played bad, and then he kind of, got it right a little bit. It seemed like he was doing better, but he's regressed again, and maybe it's time you just turn the ball over to somebody, your rookie quarterback, maybe.
I mean, fans are starting to call for it, bud. They're starting to call for it. So I don't know.
I don't. It never hurts. I mean, we're late enough into the season. Who did they draft even?
Michael Penix Jr.
Michael Penix Jr. That's right. For some reason, I wanted to say Malik Willis. I don't know why. But he's sat long enough behind Kirk that he's probably got a good feel for how to run an offense and do the things that he needs to do to be successful. why not turn it over to him for the last couple weeks of the season and see what he can do?
Well, many people are going to say, well, the Falcons are still in this. They're only one game behind. And I actually heard John Gruden come out and he was on a podcast or something. And he said, if Michael Penix was doing anything in practice and in preseason to get the attention of the Falcons, don't you think he'd already be the starter? And I don't know.
No, I mean, look at Patrick Mahomes, his very first season where, he sat. Andy Reid had come out and said, like, there's nothing wrong. He does great things in practice. We just want to give him that time to sit behind. Alex, he's like, he could be our starter, like at the halfway point of that season. He's like, he could be our starter and we'd win football games pretty easily. But we just want to give him that time to sit behind Alex and really hone in on everything. So I don't agree with John Gruden's statement that, if he was doing anything in practice, that he would be the starter. That's just not the case. I mean, there are multiple reasons why, a rookie may not start.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with Kirk Cousins' contract and the head coach maybe not wanting to, step on toes and feel like, he has to bench Kirk Cousins. But something's got to change. He has like 0 touchdowns and 8 interceptions in his last 4 games. That's a recipe for disaster. That's a recipe for a losing season.
Yep.
So, I get you paid Kirk Cousins all that money, but you spent a top 10 draft pick, if I remember correctly. I think didn't they draft him at 8?
I believe so.
Michael Penix at 8. So I mean, you spent a top 10 pick on a QB. Why not go see what this young guy can do?
And I mean, he in the preseason he looked real good. There were people saying that, maybe he should have the starting job over Kirk Cousins.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, and he's got that dual threat that Kirk just doesn't have.
So, I mean, he's not the most mobile, but he's definitely more mobile than Cousins for sure.
Yeah, he's like a Patrick Mahomes type.
Yeah,
he does just enough. I mean, he could run and get you the first down, but he's got that escapability to be able to extend plays.
He's a big quarterback too. He's thick. He's a thick quarterback. So it was 42-21 Vikings. If you started anybody on the Vikings offense, like I said Darnold, Addison, of course JJ is going to get his. If you started those guys, you're probably in good position to win your fantasy matchup this week because it was just an absolute showcase right there.
Addison had himself a good game, which means next week, you got to bench him.
Yeah.
He never goes off 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, bench him next week, guys. I don't even know the matchup yet, but
but just go ahead and pencil it in.
I don't have all the buys that I had this week. I also have a first round bye next week in my playoffs, so I don't have to worry about starting him.
Oh, it must be real nice that you made the playoffs.
Oh yeah, it kind of is nice.
I went like 2-11 in all our leagues.
Well, I wish you'd win your matchup this week just to kind of screw over your opponent, but hey.
In which league?
Dynasty 13.
Oh, I got Dakota Green. Yeah, there ain't no way I'm beating him.
So, I don't know if you've looked at the standings or not, but I'm sitting pretty at the number 2 spot. I got it locked in. I got my first round bye already locked up. Even if I lost this week, I still had it. So I'm in a real good spot right now.
I'll be honest. I haven't really looked. Just because, I'm literally 2 wins in every league.
He said, I'm losing. I don't care.
And that's sad because in touchdown, I won the championship last year, and I went almost undefeated the entire year. And I have the same roster in touchdown this year, and I went. Dang. I'm in dead last place, dead last,
so
huge, just lopsided.
So we got fantasy We talk fantasy, we talk NFL, we talk college, we talk it all. Everything football here at Answer the Coll. Raiders, we make fun of them when we can. They lost to the Bucks.
Yep. No
This
surprise
is
there.
this is actually interesting because the listener took the Raiders. I took the Bucks on this one. I took the Bucks. I said,
Well,
and they were favored by 7, and they covered that spread. They won 28-13. So
uh, I just got to ask, what was the listener thinking picking the Raiders?
I don't know, bud. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, no wonder the man went 4-7. Feel sorry for the guy.
well, he also, I don't know. I had some questionable ones too. So, like this next one. My hot take of the week, guys, was the Panthers upsetting the Eagles. They almost did it if it wasn't for a drop pass by their rookie receiver.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Panthers made that a game. That was a good game.
You know, when I was doing the hot take segment last week, bud, I said, maybe Bryce Young does a little tush push, a little brotherly shove, or whatever fancy name you want to call it, and the Panthers get the win. But to Leggett not to quit, he did quit. Xavier Leggett,
Yep.
he was two-legged to quit.
Oh my god. I can't hold on.
Oh, got him, guys. I got him. So the Eagles win 22-16. I'm two-legged to quit. Two-legged.
No, no dancing. Dang leprechauns.
But anyway, it was 22-16, guys. And I got to tell you, I was rooting for the Panthers. Obviously, it was my hot take. The listeners took the Eagles, of course. But, the Eagles were favored by 12.5. I want to point that out. And the Panthers only lost by 6 points. So they didn't even cover the spread against one of the worst teams in the NFL.
Who's been playing like one of the best teams in the NFL the last 3 or 4 weeks since Bryce Young came back.
For real. So I gotta say, back what was it, week 5, week 6, week 5, the fans in Philly were chanting "Fire Sirianni."
Yep.
They're like 9-0 since then. That's crazy.
Yeah. Since he shaved his head.
Hey, Sirianni, grow your hair back out, my man. I want the Lions to get that number 1 seed in the NFC. I want the Lions to get the number 1 seed there. But
Yep.
well, if you watch this game, you probably could have taken a nap and still not missed anything. Jags beat the Titans 10-6.
Yep. Real snooze fest.
I mean, if you watch that game, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Like, if you're watching that game, do you not have any other game you can watch? I mean, come on now. Like, are you just in the Tennessee area where that's the only game that was on? Because I still feel like you should have got like a Raiders, Bucks, a Browns, Steelers. You should have got something.
Yeah.
So, and if you exclusively watch this game, I'm really sorry. Like, I am absolutely sorry that you sat here and watched this snooze fest. I didn't even watch this game, but looking at it, 10-6. I mean, what happened here?
I mean, Titans, Jags. That's all that really needs to be said. That's what happened.
Titans, Jags. That's all that needs to be said, huh? Interesting.
Doug Peterson.
Doug Peterson. Oh, all right. So let's check out this box score. So Mac Jones, he went 23 of 31, 220 yards. Oh, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Surprise.
The Jags as a team only had 26 carries for 71 yards and 1 TD.
Surprise.
Yeah, okay. Let's see what the Tennessee Titans did. Will Levis, he actually got hurt in the game. He went 19 to 32, 168, no touchdowns, no picks. He was sacked 2 times for 22 yards. Boy, Tony Pollard had a game, 21 carries, 102 yards. Will Levis fumbled, recovered by the offensive lineman. So, yeah, I mean, not a whole lot happened there. I mean,
Just a whole lot of taking naps, which is what
so
our team should do the
I,
rest of the
I, I
season.
want to point out that Tennessee was up 3-0 after the first quarter, 3-0 after halftime, 6-0 after the third quarter, and then the Jags scored 10 in the fourth to win. Wow. Crazy, crazy game that was. Yeah. I'll tell you a game that was not a snooze fest. Bills and Rams in the afternoon slate. Holy cow, that was not a snooze fest.
Yeah, that was a good game. That
If
was
you
a
missed
real
that game,
exciting
I'm
game.
sorry.
You know what that game reminded me of?
Lions Chiefs.
What?
Lions Chiefs.
No, the Rams Chiefs game.
That's what
Mahomes
I meant.
second.
The Rams Chiefs with Jared Goff
Yeah,
on
where
Monday night.
him and Patrick Mahomes just went back and forth. It was like
Yeah.
50. The Rams ended up winning like 52 to 46 or 47, something like that. Like at that time, it was the highest scoring game in NFL history.
Yeah. I said Lions because I was thinking of Jared Goff. I remember that Jared Goff versus Patrick Mahomes, but yeah, it was Rams Chiefs. Yeah, Bills Rams win 44 to 42. My gosh, what do you got to say about this game?
I mean, it was a good game. It was a real good game. I like these games every now and then. Gets into that like real crazy shootout stuff.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's going back and forth, back and forth. Josh Allen had what, 6 touchdowns?
Yeah, he had 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, 6 touchdowns. I mean, man scored me 57 fantasy points, so I can't say much. It was a good game. I'm glad the Rams won. Obviously, the Bills are probably the Chiefs' biggest competition for the um,
Yeah.
first round bye, which now they're probably not going to be. The Chiefs' schedule outside of the Steelers on Christmas Day is pretty easy. So, but yeah, it was a good game. I really enjoyed it.
Matt Stafford, he was 23 of 30, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Kyron Williams had 29 carries, 87 yards, 2 touchdowns. But here's what I like. Here's what I like to see. They got their rookie involved, Blake Corum, 8 carries, 34 yards. I mean, not too much, but hey,
A
just
little
enough.
bit.
This was just an all-around good game.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I'm looking at it.
I'd like to see the final stat line between the two quarterbacks. Could we get that?
Okay, so Matt Stafford was 23 of 30 for 320 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, no sacks taken. He didn't get sacked.
Nice.
Josh Allen, 22 of 37, 342 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, no sacks. Josh Allen also had 10 carries, 82 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Dang.
I mean, it's no surprise, man. No surprise that. And what I like to see, there was no turnovers in this game by either team.
That's awesome. I mean, that's a really good game right there.
That is hard to do. A 44-42, no turnovers. I mean, that's just a good old-fashioned shootout. And those games, I didn't get to watch all of this, but I think I'm going to probably sit down later today or tomorrow, and I think I'm going to, this is going to be a game that I actually just kind of sit down and enjoy because, I mean, the score, 44-42. I mean, I didn't get to watch all of it, but, man, I want to point out that the Bills were favored by 4.5 on the road.
Yeah. So, I mean, looking on paper, you'd think this was a game that the Bills would easily win, especially with the way they've been playing. But the Rams took them to the house. I mean,
So the Dolphins beat the Jets 32-26. They now have like what is it, 14 consecutive losing seasons the Jets do?
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
I
Um,
mean,
the
wow.
Jets are a dumpster fire. I really rather not crap on them any more than they've been crapped on by everybody else. So this went
Wow.
went exactly how I thought it would.
You're not going to crap on the Jets.
No, well, here's the deal. I've realized, I'm a very angry individual when it comes to certain teams, and part of that is, I'm trying to turn over a new leaf. We're almost to the new year. I'm gonna stop crapping so much on the Jets and the Cowboys. Um, they get it enough.
Okay. Okay. I think you're just holding back because you don't want to drag it out because you know that we could easily turn this into a 3 hour show today because there is
No,
no way that you're not going to crap on the Jets when you have an opportunity.
no, I'm turning over a new leaf, Timmy.
I'm gonna go ahead and call bullshit on that one.
Um, yeah, I mean, the Jets are the Jets at this point. I Did Aaron Rodgers play this game?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, yeah. He actually threw his first three. He had his first 300-yard game since Week 14 of the 2021 season. 27-39, 339, one touchdown. He got sacked 3 times.
I mean, this is kind of the Jets season in a nutshell.
Jets season in a nutshell.
They're just terrible.
Dolphins were favored by 6.5, so they were right there, right at the spread. But Cardinals Seahawks. I picked the Cardinals to win this one. They were favored by 3 at home, and the Seahawks got them 30-18.
Yeah, I mean, it. The Seahawks. How do I word this? We get very different versions of the Seahawks every week. It feels like. Some weeks they play just outstanding football, and then other weeks it's like, okay, what are they doing? This is a game I actually thought the Cardinals would win, and I'm kind of disappointed they didn't. I was really hoping Kyler and Marvin Harrison Jr. would get it going, but sadly they didn't, and then they got beat pretty good by a Seahawks team.
I know wins, losses, but in head to head, Geno Smith is 5-0 versus Kyler Murray head to
That's
head.
insane.
So Cardinals can't get it going, and they fall short. Now, who's going to win the NFC West? Who is going to win the NFC West? Because honestly, it's like anybody's race at this point.
Yeah, I mean, who's in the lead right now in that division?
So right now, currently, Seattle is 8-5, Rams are 7-6, Arizona and San Francisco are 6-7.
Ooh, I want to. It's going to end up being the Rams. I think they've got the best team out of everybody.
I was sitting here thinking about this morning. I was like, after that game against the Bills, I think the Rams might go on a run here. They've got both their receivers healthy. Matt Stafford's playing good ball. They're getting their rookie running back involved. Their rookie defensive line is having a great year. And I think they could go on a run here. So,
Yeah, I think the Rams realistically are going to be the one to win that division. I think we'll have two teams represented in the playoffs from that division, though. I mean, the Seahawks are still good enough to make the playoffs.
yeah, yeah. All right. We got two more games real quick. Niners destroyed the Bears 38-13. And, I'm not going to lie. I actually thought the Bears could pull this one off. I don't know why. Just something about it said, hey, they're going to come out and do really good in this game. And they came out flat footed.
just like every other game of the season. I mean, I don't know how else to say this. Caleb Williams is not the answer for the Bears. The Bears are not the answer for Caleb Williams. I'm not sure which. They come out flat-footed every game. You know, he has weapons. Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore. Like there's really no excuse. I don't think Keenan Allen had a target this game, if I remember right. I
So
could be
Caleb
wrong.
Williams went 17 of 23, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He got sacked 7 times for 46 yards.
Yeah, I mean,
And you're right. Keenan Allen did not have a target.
it just I don't know. There's something wrong in Chicago, and it needs to get fixed fast because
Also, it's worth noting that Caleb Williams did fumble and lose the ball.
yeah, yeah. There's got to be something that they're not doing because the man has the targets. Like he's just I don't know whether it's just not clicking for him, whether it's a coaching problem. Um, I I wasn't high on Caleb Williams in the first place. I didn't think you know he was going to be a good quarterback. Most USC quarterbacks aren't good in the NFL, um, and that's just the trend. And you can say what you want with that, but history has shown time and time again. It's kind of like Ohio State quarterbacks; they just don't tend to do well in the NFL. Um,
Okay.
so
Okay.
I don't know. Hopefully, you know, they could figure it out. I wouldn't even worry about righting the ship this season. You're pretty much going to be out of playoff contention if you lose another game. So you might as well just start figuring some stuff out and looking forward to next season and whether you're going to replace your GM and your head coach.
Wow. Well, the coach has already been fired.
Yeah.
Matt
Oh, I
Eberflus got
forgot.
fired.
Matt was fired.
So here's a last game of the night. Chargers at the Super Bowl defending Chiefs. And I got to tell you, bud, I feel like the Chiefs have just kind of went into their bag of black magic and found another way to win this ball game.
Yeah, and I love getting on Facebook after a Chiefs win because it's you know all about the refs and how the Chiefs have paid them off. This is a game the Chargers should have won. Um, I hate to say that, like
Oh,
uh,
you're right.
they couldn't stop Mahomes on the last drive. Mahomes does what Mahomes does best, put his team in a position to win, and we won on a last second dink field goal.
Right.
This wasn't on the refs. This wasn't on anybody but the Chargers defense. And you know, maybe it's a little bit on Jim Harbaugh for leaving too much time for Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But also, we've seen what Mahomes has done, with 13 seconds. So, you know, can't really fault him too much. But this is, and we didn't look good for most of the game. We did not look good.
I'm telling you, man, the Chiefs just went in and they made a sacrifice. They went in and they did some black voodoo magic because first of all, the field goal, okay. But before that, I just want to point out that probably one of the greatest kickers in the NFL today with the strongest leg, Cameron Dicker. Dicker the kicker can't put it into the fucking
Okay.
the zone on the
Oh, the
kickoff.
safe landing zone. Yeah.
Yeah, he can't even make it there all of a sudden. Okay. So that happens, and then the kick, and it doinks and it just slides right in. Come on.
Yeah.
They're making some sacrifices. They're making some voodoo magic up in Kansas City. They got the win. Now, I do want to say, and I know you're gonna argue with me on this, and that's fine. I'm wondering, are they using up all their luck too soon? I mean, at some point, they're gonna have to lose one of these close games. I mean, they're gonna lose one of these close games. And they're not doing it in the regular season. That leaves the postseason. I'd rather be losing a couple of games here than in the postseason.
Here's the deal. Postseason Mahomes is a totally different animal. Postseason Chiefs are a different animal. Look at what we did last year.
Right? I
Everybody
get it.
everybody wrote us off. Oh, the Chiefs ain't making it to the playoffs. Oh, the Chiefs aren't going to go far in the playoffs. And we're Super Bowl champs back to back. We have yet to see the best version of the Chiefs. We'll get Hollywood Brown back before the end of the year. Um, I think we'll get him back probably first week of playoffs. That will help. I think a lot of the Chiefs' offensive struggles right now are, they've got DeAndre Hopkins and Travis Kelce to throw to. Andy Reid has said multiple times that Xavier Worthy, he really shouldn't be starting. The scheme for the Chiefs is really hard for receivers to learn. It's really nuanced. It's really expansive. And we kind of seen this with Tyreek Hill, his first season, where they designed some special plays for him. Tyreek Hill wasn't good his first season. There were glimpses, just like with Xavier Worthy, there were glimpses of how good he could be, but he really didn't turn it on until he had that first full offseason with the Chiefs. And that second year, he came back and started to build on. And, obviously Tyreek Hill is, before this season, one of the best receivers in the NFL. So,
Oh yeah. I don't know, man. I just, like I said, they're winning all these games by close. I mean, they've won so many games by a touchdown or less. They've
it's
won so
15
many
straight
games.
one score wins.
Yeah.
15 straight.
So at one point, it's going to end, and it will. Whether it's going to be next week in the regular season, a couple of weeks from now in the finale of the regular season, or in the playoffs, I think their luck will eventually run out.
And you
So,
may be right. We'll just have to wait and see. I just never count out Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes.
well, and not many people do. Not many people do. But I'm just saying, man, at some point, they do have to lose via bad luck, because you can't. How many sacrifices can you make?
I mean, I think the ultimate goal here is Taylor Swift. We're building that relationship up. She's gonna be the ultimate sacrifice to help us get our third Super Bowl title.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's all been employed by the NFL and the Chiefs and the Ref
Oh,
Association.
okay.
Taylor
Okay.
Swift is actually in on it. She's paid the NFL quite a bit of money to um, allow the
Okay.
Chiefs to be this great. And she knew
That
what she signed up for.
that makes sense.
She is definitely willing. Come on now. Come on now, people.
That
This
makes
isn't
sense.
this isn't some grand scheme. There is some definite magic going on, and it's not Mahomes magic at this point.
No, it's not, because, like, looking at the stat line, 24, 37, 210 yards, only one touchdown. He was sacked 3 times. He had 4 carries for 17 yards. So, I mean, definitely not the Mahomes that we're used to seeing.
No, and I
And
mean, every great quarterback has lulls. Tom Brady had them. You know, it was going to happen at some point where he had a down season, and that's okay.
all right, real quick before we go, because I cannot have a Monday show without talking about Monday Night Football and without talking about the Dallas Cowboys. Here we go. Dallas Cowboys taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are favored by 6 in Dallas. What's going to happen, bud?
I mean, is Jerry going to put the curtains up?
Well, it's a night game, so it'll be dark by then.
This should be a Bengals blowout. I mean, the Cowboys suck. What else? What else is there to say?
No. Hey, I think the Cowboys can do it, man.
I think you're full of crap.
No. You know,
I think I'm thinking those cough drops went to your head a little bit, and you need to start rethinking your life choices about what you're about to say.
no. Hear me out, bud. Hear me out. Cowboys are on a winning streak. They're not going to be able to win the division. So for the 20th straight year, the NFC East will have a different division champ. They have not repeated in 20 years. So, Cowboys won the division last year. They're not going to win it this year. But they can still make it a wild card. They could go on a roll, beat the Bengals here, win out, slide in at the number 7 seed, and really just kind of screw their good draft pick up. So,
yeah, and I could find your pot of gold if we're talking about things that aren't realistically going to happen.
Well, I mean, things can happen. Stranger things have happened.
Name one.
Name one? Well,
Yeah, you got nothing there, do you?
Bama didn't make the college playoffs.
They had 3 losses. They shouldn't have.
But I mean, that was strange that the committee saw it that way. No, realistically, I did pick the Bengals in my weekly picks. The listener did pick the Cowboys. So,
oh my goodness, what is going on right now? What world are we living in where people are picking the Dallas Cowboys to win football games?
Hey, Bengals defense is kind of not that great. They've lost like 4 games this season of scoring 33 plus points. So
yeah, I mean, here's the deal though. I got one name for you, Jamar Chase.
Trevon Diggs.
Deron
Bland.
T. Higgins.
Deron Bland.
Joe Burrow. Better than Cooper Rush.
Micah Parsons.
Is Micah Parsons actually playing?
Yeah. He's been playing, I think. I don't know. I don't really care. It's going to be Bengals by a lot, guys. It's going to be Bengals by a lot.
This should be a blowout, and I'm surprised they're only favored by 6.
All right, guys. Well, I don't know about you, bud, but I think I have talked about what I wanted to talk about this week.
Yeah, I'm all tapped out.
We had a great show. We want to thank you for tuning in and listening, whether it's your first time or you're a returning listener. We could not do this without you. If you enjoyed the show, please like, follow, subscribe, share with your neighbor, share with your boss. I don't care. And together we will continue to answer the call. You guys have a good day, and we'll see you next time.
Are we done?
I hope so.